Artificial Intelligence and Mammogram, an overview of Kasr Al Aini Hospital's experience. It's well known that mammography is the initial examination for many women with breast symptoms, and it is the cornerstone of breast cancer screening. To be accurate in the cancer detection, there is always a need for assistance, sometimes by the ultrasound, and recently we use breast tomosynthesis. The concept of development and implantation of AI for mammogram has been ongoing for several decades. Actually, at the radiology department, Cairo University, the mammograms are recaptured with the aid of Linnet Insight for mammography, medical artificial intelligence software that was FDA approved in November 2019. 20 years ago, there was a movie that predicted the future named Minority Report. It talks about a police officer that could see future crime through monitors. And actually, AI has the same prognosis for the breast cancer. It provides location information of the detected lesions on the mammograms in the form of heat maps, and also shows abnormality scores that reflects the probability of malignancy. So the question that first comes to our mind, whether the AI is for detection of the breast cancer as commercially used, or it could be used for diagnosis, discrimination between different breast entities, and sort them into benign and malignant lesions. Well, through our observations where the performance of the AI for scanning of the mammograms, we could find that there is the AI interpretation that depends upon the qualitative criteria of data visualization that shows the magnitude of abnormality as color hue, ranges from light blue to intense red. And on the other side, we have the quantitative numerical estimate of the degree of confidence for the suspicion of malignancy that ranges from less than 10% to 100% abnormality scoring. For example, this case, it came for screening mammogram. You can find that the breast is very busy, it's full of glandular tissue. It's very difficult to estimate if there is illusion in lesions or actually the pathology out there hidden from this glandular tissue. And it may take from 30 to even 45 minutes for the radiologist to detect the actual pathology. With AI, the scanning was very simple. In only 1 second, it's very obvious that here high up in the upper outer quadrant of the left breast, there is intense red hue with abnormality scoring of 99% that suggests that we're dealing with breast cancer. Going to the tomosynthesis to confirm the finding, actually, yes, there is here a mass with speculated outline. It's malignant looking, yet it's a little bit smaller than that estimated by the AI. So going up there actually another mass here. It's partially circumscribed and partially obscured. It is a malignant intramammary lymph node. The sentinel node is a part of the disease. And so I not only located the cancers, actually give a very good estimation of the extension of the disease. Another case came for a diagnostic mammogram. It's obvious that there is a mass here in the axillary tail of the right breast. And then going through both breasts, there is nothing obvious whatsoever except this cluster of suspicious microcalcification in the deep central portion of the right breast. On ultrasound, the axillary mass looks familiar to be a malignant lymph node with the vascularity and the globular appearance. And going through the breast, there was nothing out there. Even the suspicious calcification was not easily discernible from the related glandular tissue. So by the combined evaluation of the ultrasound and the mammogram, the right breast was assigned by RADS for suspicious category. Going through the AI, it actually detected another additional lesion here in the retroareolar portion that was not obvious on the conventional imaging. By the tomosynthesis, there is here a spider area in the retroareolar region and the clustered microcalcification with the axillary tail mass. So with the use of AI, it's very easy to scan the pathology and detect the extension of the disease. So for this case, actually, she may have skipped the X-ray radiation dose by the digital breast tomosynthesis. Another case with dense breast, here there is an ill-defined lesion at the upper inner quadrant of the right breast. It looks suspicious on the mammogram. On the ultrasound, it's more suspicious with ill-defined outline, and even the ipsilateral axillary node showed cortical thickening with the third and eccentric fatty hilum. So again, it was assigned by RADS for suspicious category for the right breast lesion. On the AI, the lesion was faintly distinguished, and even the abnormality scoring this time, it's only 24%, is very low. So going through the digital mammogram and the ultrasound, the lesion is very suspicious, and we expected that by the AI, it detected with intense hue and abnormality scoring, which is high enough to reach at least 80%, yet it gives us 24% and it's faintly detected. And going to the pathology, after the biopsy was suggested, it was benign non-specific granulomatous mastitis. And so the AI gave us impression about being a true negative, in spite that it was detected to be positive or false positive by the conventional imaging. Another case with dense breast. There is a lesion here, upper outer quadrant, is speculated and looks very suspicious. And there is another one here in the deep central area, defined with partially obscured margin. Going to the ultrasound, the one deeply central, it's found to be just a circumscribed mass, presumably adenoma. Yes, so the other one, it's more confident that we are dealing with invasive mass, and looks very familiar of malignant BIRADS5 mass. On the contrast-enhanced mammogram, actually here, this is the presumed adenoma. It shows circumscribed outline, homogeneous enhancement comparable to the nodular background of the breast parenchyma. And here the high up lesion, it's speculated with the heterogeneous contrast uptake. It's more suspicious, even as it takes intense enhancement more than the surrounding glandular tissue. So by all these modalities, we are dealing definitely with a malignant mass BIRADS5 category. I'm going through the AI. Again, it's a little more or less neglected, and the abnormality scoring is very low, it's 33%. And again, going to the biopsy, and this time you are going to say that the AI is definitely wrong and couldn't be like so, because it looks 5 this time, yet it's found to be a benign nodular sclerosis. And yes, the AI gives us a very, very accurate and good estimation about the pathology of the disease. Going through this case, it's very obvious that it has a mass in the upper outer quadrant of the right breast. It's malignant looking, yet here the retroareolar area and the dermal thickening, we want to know if it is a part of the condition or not. The AI tells us no, it's only there is a unifocal carcinoma in the upper outer quadrant of the right breast. And going through the contrast-enhanced mammogram, it confirms what the AI suggested, yes, we have only unifocal carcinoma, there is no enhancement in the retroareolar region or the dermal thickening. And again, AI could skip this patient the extra dose radiation from the contrast-enhanced mammogram, and even this time the contrast injection as well. So I guess the AI is the modality of the year. It gives us very good information. It could even discriminate with the using of the abnormality scoring between benign and malignant entities, and spare the patient the hazards of the radiation and even the contrast injection in case of if we need a contrast-enhanced mammogram. It does the work of hundreds of clinicians and gives unparalleled accuracy and speed that may make breast biopsies unnecessary many times. So we are going to see, so this is the same case, but going through the contrast-enhanced mammogram, again, there is this lesion here, retroareolar, it's circumscribed and showing homogeneous enhancement. And on the AI, and on the mammogram, it was not obvious, it's discernible from the glandular tissue. On the AI, it was not there, it gives us a very low probability scoring, so it's have been missed by the AI. But yet to be more accurate, it was not missed, it was neglected. Actually the AI on scanning gives it a abnormality scoring less than 10%, because according to its criteria and the AI algorithm, it have no suspicion of malignancy, and this is okay. It's more or less neglected and not missed by the AI. So again, the question, whether AI is used for detection and diagnosis, and we may have remodulate this question and say that AI is for detection and diagnosis of only cancer or malignant looking lesions. For evaluation of this question, again, we may see these cases, case 1 and case 2, and going through the scanning, the AI given both cases the same color hue and abnormality scoring rather comparable. The case number 1, it's 57%, and case number 2, it's 68%. Both percentages stay in the middle zone. Analyzing case number 1 on the ultrasound, the mass is speculated. It shows a complex feature of cystic and solid component. Actually, it's malignant looking on the ultrasound. And on the contrast-enhanced mammogram, it's even more and more malignant, with the area in between the masses showing non-mass contrast uptake. It looks very, very suspicious as part of the disease. And on the pathology, yes, it was a mucinous carcinoma. The other case that shows the same color hue and almost more or less higher abnormality scoring on the ultrasound scanning, there was multiple tests. Some of them are complicated. Actually, we are dealing with features on the imaging of fibrocystic disease, and on the tomosynthesis, this is bunch of cysts over there, another bunch of cysts lower there, and some of them having circumscribed neural-based calcification here and here. Yet the area in the middle, the cysts are over superimposed with this ill-defined patch, and then see that rather needs more clarification, and so biopsy was suggested. And this time it was benign. It was just epithelial ductal hyperplasia and fibroadenosis. There was no malignancy. And so we may say that sometimes the AI gives us an overlap in the abnormality scoring and the hue supposed by the AI. So sometimes the AI is not that efficient in the discrimination. So this gets us again to the question, AI only scores the abnormality and doesn't know how to discriminate between the masses and discriminate, doesn't actually confident about the lesions as being benign or malignant, it just scores the abnormalities. Well, actually, no. According to our experience with the AI, when the AI gives an abnormality scoring, which is equals to or more than 80%, is definitely malignant. And when the eye presents a low score, even if the morphology of the lesion looks very suspicious and malignant, and the score is less than or equals to 40%, it's definitely benign. And actually, we had found that by scanning about 1,200 mammograms, there was a resulting cutoff value of 57% abnormality scoring to discriminate between benign and malignant diagnosis that gives us a sensitivity of 94% and specificity of 89%, which are rather high values. This makes us very enthusiastic about using the eye, not just for this detection, for the diagnosis, actually, again, for the local staging of the approved breast cancer. And going through this case, the cancer is obvious. This time it's reflected over fatty background. And by the AI, it seems to be a unifocal lesion. On the contrast enhanced mammogram, there are 3 minions was up there in the upper outer quadrants. Actually, it's a multicentric carcinoma, and these satellites have been missed by the AI. Retrograde, we could find it in the mammogram, but again, it's preferable to use not missed, it's neglected by the AI. Another case showing a very obvious lesion in the axillary tail of the left breast. In the AI, it's unifocal. And in the contrast enhanced mammogram, there is 2 masses nearby the lesion, and actually it's a multifocal carcinoma. Retrograde, going to the ultrasound, you could find these minions. So according to the AI and the mammogram, it's a unifocal carcinoma, yet on the contrast enhanced mammogram, it's multifocal. And again, the AI neglected these 2 minions. And actually, I'm using the term neglected because I have experience with the eye that it detects carcinomas is very small, up to 0.5 and 0.4 millimeter. And I think the AI didn't skip these minions. Actually, it neglected in the presence of a very large index mass nearby the lesions. And so we are getting ongoing research to find out why sometimes the eye neglect these minions in the presence of an index mass with a higher and larger diameter than these other lesions. Another application that is promising for the use of AI is the follow-up of the post-treated breast cancer. Here, this case had finished the chemotherapy cycles following cancer, local advanced breast carcinoma in the left breast. This is a clip here have been inserted at the site of the lesion, and it's not obvious if there is a residual cancer or just the distortion of the glandular tissue with no viable tumoral tissue. Sometimes, in most of the cases, we use a contrast-based study. In the past, we used the MRI, and now we are using contrast-enhanced mammogram with extra radiation dose and the use of contrast agent. But on scanning with the eye, actually, you could find that the eye give us impression about the extent of the residual cancer. And this is very promising that later on, when we use it instead of the contrast-based study for the follow-up of cases post-chemotherapy and preoperative, you decide the type of operation and the area of the breast to be removed. Another treated breast, but this time it's a post-operative. Case number 1, showing only dermal thickening. There is no complication at the operative bed. And the case number 2, we have there is a density at the operative bed. The AI gives us an intense red hue with abnormality scoring 95%. And so according to the parameters we have discussed earlier, we may suggest that we are dealing with a recurrence at the operative bed. And this is very serious, yet on going through the tomosynthesis, the area showing fat lucence, it is circumscribed. Actually, it is a seroma with areas of fat necrosis of the brain. It's a benign complications and not a recurrence. And so there is a debate about using the eye still in the post-operative breast. However, we are doing another ongoing research about this entity to see when to use it and when to skip its evaluation from our estimators. Another movie called Jerry Maguire about the sport agent that promote athletes. And during the movie, the client always tell him, show me the money, make me rich, make me famous. And Jerry answers him all the time, also help me, help you. And actually this is the relation between the radiologist and AI. The performance of artificial intelligence is to be strengthened by the proper supervision and the continuous monitoring of the radiologist to get what's called the AR, which is the augmented radiologist, that describes the human and AI hybrid doctor that outperforms the human or standalone AI technology. So whenever you have an AI software in your department, where to go and what to do, what is your navigation, actually focus first on the breast density. If the breast density is ACR A or B with small and little amount of glandular tissue, and the AI tells you there is nothing out there, it's a low probability to have a cancer within, so no further workup, and you could have confidence in the AI. If the AI says no, yet the breast density is the ACR C or D, it's the glandular and dense breast, go for ultrasound. If it is normal, no further workup. If there is benign lesions found there and the AI have neglected, as we said earlier, so do your follow-up either to annual or 6 months follow-up. If the answer is yes by the AI and found intense hue out there in the scanned mammogram, whatever the type of density you're facing, go for the ultrasound. If it's a benign lesion, then we'll do follow-up. And if it's a malignant looking lesion, so go for the AI scoring. If it is less than 57% or equals to that, go for the biopsy to confirm it's actually malignant or just it's a malignant looking and it's a benign pathology. And if the AI scoring is more than 50%, actually at that point, I'm confident that we are dealing with a malignant looking and the expected pathology to be malignant as well. And so I go for the biopsy for the confirmation of the malignancy. And I need also a contrast-based study for the extension of the disease and staging barrier to operative and therapy application. So whenever I see this image of a reported case by, I said it's a scan case by artificial intelligence that showed right breast upper outer quadrant breast lesion of abnormality scoring suspicion of malignancy for further evaluation by the radiologist. Before I go, I would like to thank Ahmed Marai, Sales and Marketing Manager, AI Informatics and Medical IT, and also Christiana Honnold, Clinical Product and Marketing Manager, Fujifilm Middle East Africa. Actually, they were a cornerstone in introducing the concept of artificial intelligence in the radiology department, Cairo University, and paved the way for a new era of prosperity in the detection of breast cancer. Thank you.